Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Hello, everybody. Yes, indeed. Hello, and how are you? I'm feeling fine, thank you. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I'm feeling fine, thank you. Yes, indeed. Hello, and how are you? Hi, guys. Hi out there. Today's story is the tale of the Flopsy Bunny. And if you notice, this is one of my itty bitty books. It's a little book. And this book comes in different sizes. It even comes in a hardcover book, even smaller than this, a larger one, which is hardcover. But this is one of my favorite stories. This is the tale of the Flopsy Bunnies. Who likes bunny rabbits? Me too. Well, let's listen. It is said that the effect of eating too much lettuce is sulfuric. I have never felt sleepy after eating lettuces, but then I'm not a rabbit. They certainly had a very sulfuric effect upon the Flopsy Bunnies. Sulfuric effect means it makes you sleepy. Do you have something that makes you sleepy?
Yes. Melatonin.
Oh, melatonin is, yeah, absolutely.
I don't like it.
Water, okay. Well, let's get back to the story. When Benjamin Bunny grew up, he married his cousin Flopsy. They had a large family, and they were very improvident and cheerful. I do not remember their separate names of their children. They were generally called the Flopsy Bunnies. But if you look at this picture, look good because this is an itty bitty book. So it's a little picture. There are several bunnies. Let's count. Who wants to come up and count with me? How about you? Come over here. Let's count. I'll point. You count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5. Very good. 5 bunnies. Who wants to do it in Spanish? Lola, come on up. You can stand right here and count. I'll point. You count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5. Thank you. And I'm going to count in Japanese. Ichi, ni, san, shi, go. 5. Well, let's keep on with the story. As there were not always quite enough to eat, Benjamin used to borrow cabbages from Flopsy's brother Peter Rabbit, who kept a nursery garden. Sometimes Peter Rabbit had no cabbage to spare. There's not enough cabbage? Wow, that means they might be hungry. When this happened, the Flopsy Bunnies went across the field to a rubbish heap in the ditch outside of McGregor's garden. That doesn't sound like a good idea. Because they're going to a ditch outside of McGregor's garden? It was Mr. McGregor's rubbish heap. Rubbish is like trash, okay? Mr. McGregor's rubbish heap was a mixture. There were jam pots and paper bags and mountains of chopped grass from the mowing machine, which always tasted oily, and some rotten vegetables, marrows, an old boot or two. One day, oh joy, there was a quantity of overgrown lettuce which had shot into flowers. You see that? Can you see that picture? So let's put our mind and our eyes together and imagine all the little bunnies being in a big pile of trash with fruit that was rotten, boots, oily this, nasty this. That's where they had to go to eat because they didn't have any spare cabbage from their friend. Then the Flopsy Bunnies simply stuffed lettuces. By degrees, one after another, they were overcome with slumber and lay down in the mown grass. Benjamin was not so much overcome as his children, Before going to sleep, he was sufficiently wide awake to put a paper bag over his head to keep it off, to keep the flies off. Can you see him? He's got that paper bag on his head. He doesn't want the flies buzzing around him. Yeah. The little Flopsy bunny slept delightfully in the warm sun. From the lawn beyond the garden, came the distant clackety, clackety sound of the mowing machine. A mowing machine is what cuts grass. Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think that's a good idea for the rabbits to be around a mowing machine? No. The blue bottles buzzed about the wall, and a little old mouse picked over the rubbish among the jam pots. I can tell you her name. She was called Thomasina Tittlemouse, a wood mouse with a long tail. And there she is. You see Thomasina?
No. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, she's got a long tail. She rustled across the paper bag and awakened Benjamin Bunny. The mouse apologized profusely and said that she knew Peter Rabbit. While she and Benjamin were talking close under the wall, they heard a heavy thread above their heads. Boom! Boom! And suddenly, Mr. McGregor emptied out a sack full of lawn mowings, right upon the top of the sleeping Flopsy bunnies. Benjamin shrank down under his paper bag. The mouse hid in a jam pot. Wow. The little rabbits smiled sweetly in their sleep under the shower of grass. They did not awaken because the lettuces had been so soporific. They dreamt that their mother Flopsy was tucking them in the hay bed. Mr. McGregor looked down after emptying his sack. He saw some funny little brown tips of ears sticking up through the lawn mowings. He stared at them for some time. You see Mr. McGregor's shoes there?
No.
He is
Yes. Oh yeah.
He is looking down at those little ears of the bunnies.
Ooh.
I wonder what he's going to do. You think Mr. McGregor's going to be happy about the bunnies being in the rubbish pile?
No.
Well, let's see. Presently, a fly settled on one of them and it moved. Mr. McGregor climbed down on the rubbish heap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little rabbits, said he, as he dropped them into his sack. The Flopsy bunnies dreamt that their mother was turning them over in bed. They stirred a little in their sleep, but they still did not awaken. He's putting them in a sack. Uh-oh. I don't think that's good, do you?
No.
Why is he putting them in that sack? Let's see. Mr. McGregor tied up the sack and left it on the wall. He went to put away the mowing machine. So if you look, you can see carefully Mr. McGregor putting them on the wall
Let's see that.
in that sack.
Let's see.
While he was gone, Mrs. Flopsy Bunny, who had remained at home, came across the field. She looked suspiciously at the sack and wondered where everybody was. When it says she looked suspiciously, that means she looked like, I wonder what that sack is. Then the mouse came out of her jam pot, and Benjamin took the paper bag off his head, and they told the doleful tale. Benjamin and Flopsy were in despair. They could not undo the string. But Mrs. Tittlemouse was a resourceful person. That means she was creative and smart. She nibbled a hole in the bottom corner of the sack. So you see them there? They're all worried about the sack. How to get in the sack. They can't untie it. So Miss Tittlemouse said, we'll just bite a hole in it. The little rabbits were pulled out and pinched to wake them. Their parents stuffed the empty sack with 3 rotten vegetable marrows and an old blacking brush and 2 decayed turnips. Oh, let me show my friends here. See? Yeah. And now let me show you. You see them? So they're going to trick Mr. McGregor. When Mr. McGregor picks up the sack, he's going to think the bunny rabbits are in there because it's going to feel heavy. But they are not in there. Then they all hid under a bush and watched for Mr. McGregor. Mr. McGregor came back, picked up the sack, and carried it off. He carried it hanging down as if it were rather heavy. The Flopsy bunnies followed at a distance. See? You see him walking and they're following him? Can you there see it? Okay. They watched him go into the house and then they crept up to the window. When they crept up, they mean they did so quietly, maybe on their tippy toes. Mr. McGregor threw down the sack on the stone floor in a way that would have been extremely painful to the Flopsy bunnies if they had happened to have been inside. They could hear him dragging his chair on the flags and chuckle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little rabbits, said Mr. McGregor. He thinks he's got 6 little rabbits. What does Mr. McGregor have? Rubbish.
Rubbish.
Hey, what's that? What have they been spoiling now? Inquired Mrs. McGregor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little rabbits, repeated Mr. McGregor, counting on his fingers. 1, 2, 3. Don't you be silly. What do you mean, you silly old man? Said Mrs. McGregor. In the sack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little rabbits, replied Mr. McGregor. The youngest Flopsy bunny got up on the windowsill. Can you see them peeking in the windowsill, watching Mrs. McGregor and her husband? Can you see the 6 bunnies peeking in the window? I wonder if Mr. McGregor and his wife will see them peeking. Let's see. Mrs. McGregor took hold of the sack and felt it. And she said she could feel 6. But they must be old rabbits because they're so hard in all different shapes. Not fit to eat. But the skins will do fine to line my old cloak. So Mrs. McGregor was going to take the rabbit skins and use it to keep her warm for a coat. And Mr. McGregor wanted the rabbits because he wanted to make rabbit stew. Well, anyway, let's see what happens. Rabbit tobacco. I shall skin them and cut off their heads.
That's a bad idea. Yeah.
Mrs. McGregor untied the sack and put her hand inside. When she felt the vegetables, she became very, very angry. She said that Mr. McGregor had done it on purpose. So she thinks that her husband played a trick on her. Did he really play a trick on her?
No.
No, because he really thinks that the rabbits are in there. And Mr. McGregor was very angry too. One of the rotten marrows came flying through the kitchen window, hit the youngest Flopsy bunny, and it was rather hurt. Oh no, look at him. He's hurt.
Why?
Because he was hit by the marrow.
Oh.
Yeah. Wouldn't you be hurt if somebody threw something at you?
Yes.
Yes.
What?
Then Benjamin and Flopsy thought it was time to go home. So Mr. McGregor did not get his tobacco, and Mrs. McGregor did not get her rabbit skin. But next year, Thomasina Tittlemouse got a present of enough rabbit wool to make herself a cloak and a hood and a handsome muff and a pair of warm mittens. Okay, so what happened was the rabbits gave the mouse some of their fur so that the mouse could have a nice warm coat. So Mrs. McGregor didn't get a coat, the little mouse did. So what do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up, yay! And, if you like the story and you want to hear more, then please like the video, give us a thumbs up, and what should they do?